following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
We are back. Bronx Roots, Preminger, Hubler, Tyko. Two of us are here. Michael is here. I'm here. Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. Michael, we're talking earthquakes off the air. We both adopted California later in life as our hometown, if you will. And I'm in the northern part, you're in the southern part. We were talking earthquakes off the air a little bit while we wait for David Hubler to join us. And why don't we continue that? What was it, the anniversary of North...
The 25th anniversary, so to speak, of the Northridge earthquake.
Right.
So
and ironically, I remember that because I lived in an apartment complex, a co-op complex growing up called Northridge. And,
oh, really?
In Queens, yeah. 16 buildings, all within a 4-block radius, post-war. And each building had 66 families, and virtually all of them had 2.5 kids. And we had a big schoolyard and a park right between the buildings. It was like a quad. And it was terrific. When I wasn't in the Bronx, I was in Queens. So, tell us about the Northridge quake and what you went through.
Well, I was again very, very lucky because the house that I lived in had maybe a couple of minor cracks, and that was it. But I just looked at it. Has David been on already, by the way? Because I just
David, you're not here yet, unless you're lurking in the background, and I doubt if you would be. But we finished up a long show on George Case's show earlier. He had a hot stove baseball league going, so he should join us.
Because what was I just going to say? Because I have not that I have, it's my granddaughter's birthday party. I think I had mentioned last week at 11. So.
Okay, what time is it there now? Oh, well, it's 10:40, so
10:40.
We'll make it a quick show.
So we have a short show.
Yeah.
The Northridge earthquake, so there was only a few cracks, but close to about a half a mile from me, there was one house I specifically can visualize because it was a corner house and it passed a block that I often go, and it was gone. It was just gone. But not a lot. Not where I live, not across the street or anything. So I was very lucky. It was, I guess, in a pocket where I wasn't affected. But we saw what it did to other houses. And so on TV now,
and it really got a lot of freeways were torn down.
Oh yeah.
That was a major one. That scares you. They say there's one on the horizon for us in California.
Yes, they keep saying that, and they say within the next next 30 years.
Yeah, it's almost 100% probability that there'll be something.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well. If it's in the next 30 years, I don't think I have to worry about it. If I do, I'll be
Well, somebody's going to worry.
Yeah. So let's not worry.
We had one up in 1989, the one that canceled the World Series. It was called the Loma Prieta earthquake.
Right.
It was horrible. My memories of that one was that I was living in Oakland, and I went out in the back porch with the radio to tune in that night's baseball game, and all of a sudden we got a shock, and I'm looking out the back on the back porch, and I'm looking out at another house, and a guy's out there who I didn't know, just puttering around, and shock, wave.
Hey,
David Hubler's joined us.
Oh, hi.
Yeah, hi. I was on. They tell you get that music, and they kept saying the host hasn't arrived. The host hasn't arrived, and then finally they said your host has not arrived. Okay, canceling the call. I just redialed.
When something like that happens, that's what we need to do is remind ourselves to redial.
Well, that's what I did immediately. I mean, it was getting, and I remembered that, Mike, you were going to leave early today, weren't you? You had to...
Yes.
So I'm sorry.
That's
okay.
Right.
We're talking earthquakes, and Michael had a big one in L.A. Years ago. I had a big one in Northern California, and I was just finishing up the story of when it started to rock. I looked out, I was on the porch, I looked out, and there was a guy from the house across from me is in his backyard. I'm in my backyard, and we just looked up at each other with looks of like, whoa, what's going on? And I was living about 4 miles from the freeway overpass that collapsed.
Oh, yes.
And crushed a bevy of people and what have you. So we're just saying that when these earthquakes hit, and they have and they will again, a lot of it is just pure damn luck of where you are. Michael mentioned that his house was totally not damaged in his earthquake, a few cracks. And yet 4 miles from there, from his house, it was devastation.
Yeah, wow.
So,
yeah, we had one here in Virginia a number of years ago, which was really odd. It cracked the Washington Monument, which is still being repaired, because they discovered that the original repairs were not done correctly. They had reopened it to tourists, and then they went about a more careful search. I don't know why, but they just did. And they discovered that, the cracks had done more damage than previously thought. So now it's closed for another year or so, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I wonder where they were getting their concrete if it wasn't from China. No, I'm serious. With the new Bay Bridge out here, the Oakland Bay Bridge that they built, there have been some constructional flaws, and they blame a lot of that on concrete, subpar concrete.
Yeah. Well, I think I mentioned once earlier, that's happened here. They're building what they call the Silver Line. It's a rail extension out to Dulles Airport as part of the Metro's train system, transit system. And they've discovered the same thing with the concrete to build the stations. So they've been delayed because the concrete was not structurally sound. And they have to get it's done in slabs, and they have to now go back and get new contracts and new slabs produced. So they've delayed the opening of that Silver Line out to the airport.
it's a big problem. These contractors bid low, and they come in with subpar all over the country. Not just California, not just Maryland, but they bid low and come in with some subpar equipment.
Yeah.
They're building the bridge. The bolts aren't what they should be, and they reassure everybody and have engineers, but we're all a disaster away from happening.
Yeah, that's true. And with the federal government, there are rules that they have to take the low bid. So that presents problems in itself.
Yes. And now the federal government itself has been declared a disaster area.
It certainly has, yes.
We go week to week being amazed at what's going on in this country. And what surprised you this week, David?
Well, I'll tell you what surprised me, and it's not something you would expect, Ralph. But today's Sunday paper I picked up, and in the obituary section, I always look to make sure I'm not there. But the death of Tony Mendez. Recently, I had been asked to cover an event at the new International Spy Museum in town in D.C., and it was a panel of 4 high-level former CIA officials, all women, and they were telling their various stories, and one of them was the wife of this Tony Mendez. She was had signed on to the agency as a photographer and had really risen through the ranks to become a chief of photography, or one of the various areas in the disguise section. And she had married Tony Mendez, with whom she had worked for a number of years after Tony's first wife died. Well, the story has this. The reason I mentioned this, first of all, he just died, and I didn't know him personally, of course, but just having seen his wife on the podium there talking about some of their adventures, as much as they could tell about them, it sort of rang a bell. And the story has sort of a connection to L.A. and to Northern Virginia, where CIA headquarters are, so I thought it's sort of a little bit appropriate to talk about this guy. If you remember the film Argo with Matt Damon.
Sure.
Well, Tony Mendez is the man he was portraying.
Oh, wow.
The real guy. I mean, these guys have had some incredible experiences. In fact, as part of the story, to get these guys, there were 7. I think there were 7 embassy employees who had escaped being captured when the Iranian Revolutionary Guard burst into the embassy. They had holed up with the Canadian embassy, a couple of staffers of the Canadian embassy, one being the ambassador. The question was, how were they going to get these guys out of Iran without having them get killed? And that's the story of the movie Argo. And that was the actual name of the rescue mission. And Tony Mendez was an incredible guy. He created this whole scenario. First of all, he called his friend, a makeup artist who had worked with CIA for many years. He gave Spock his ears, and he did Planet of the Apes, and and all of these Hollywood. He did all the costuming for these wonderful Hollywood films, and then they devised this incredible story of. They created a fictional film production company. They even leased an office in L.A., in Hollywood, and they printed out business cards, and they put an ad in Variety that this new production company was looking for locations, and this all went along before they got into Iran as a film production group that was doing location, finding locations for the film. And they had created this wonderful backstory for all of these guys, the guys that were in the embassy, and they had to learn this stuff by heart. Once they got into, they began working with them in the embassy. There was no mention made of these guys since they were captured, because they didn't want to let anyone know that they had taken refuge in the embassy. Anyway, if you know the film, they actually extracted these guys from the Canadian group, and they got out it was scot-free. They got them on a plane under their disguised names and false identification. And even though the plane was delayed for about an hour while they really held their breath, because at any moment the Revolutionary Guard could have taken them, they did fly out safely and successfully. So Tony just died 2 days ago, and I thought, wow, and in fact, the funny part of it is I've been reading the book he and his wife wrote about some of these extractions, they're called, where they take people out of harm's way. Sometimes they're agents who have been compromised, and or like in this case, who were under threat of assassination, and get them out. And it's ironic that and of course there's a big picture of him, and he doesn't look anything like Matt Damon, of course, but it was really a remarkable extraction, and the whole story was kind of interesting too. So it has nothing to do with earthquakes, but it was sort of an earthquake.
It doesn't have to.
Well, the question had been what surprised you, so that's why.
Yeah, right. So it surprised me that he had died, and how, and they talked a bit more about his career, and in the book I've learned a good deal too, because interestingly enough, in the book they never reveal what country or area they're working in under these stories, So they, but they're really quite interesting anecdotes.
Beautiful story. Nice. What an exciting life he led.
Yes. Interesting, a really interesting guy. He was born in Nevada, and far away from any kind of government work or anything. Just fell into the agency like that. And when he saw an ad in the paper, they were looking. He was an artist, a commercial artist. He saw an ad in the paper calling for, to work abroad as an artist. Well, he was, that's a tempting thing to do. I guess most artists would think, I'll go to Paris, study. But anyway, so that's what surprised me most this week. Nothing out, dear President, it surprises me anymore. So that couldn't be it.
No, not a surprise, but a shock. He can shock you from day to day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'll bet. I have an interesting segue for something to talk about, and it involves the guests that we had, David and I, and George Case was on the show, and Alan Blumkin, and Ronnie Rabinovich. We had a former Major League Baseball player who, Larry Goel, former New York Yankee, this, that, and the other thing, but his career now is in music. And we talked about gigs and what have you, and most of what his gigs are performing in front of seniors, veterans' homes, and what have you. I immediately thought of you, Michael, that
because of your age.
I was going to say
no. That you entertain, you have the social conscious, whatever it takes to the empathy, and how much
he gets lunch. They give him lunch, so he does it. You know.
They give him lunch, but they also give him a sense of warmth that carries you through the week. And he responded in basically the same way. He said, I said, how cool is that you get to do that? And he goes, wow. Remember that, David? He just lit up.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought of you, Michael. Makes you light up. You're not a singer. You're a comedian. Talk about that. Where you are.
Can I just add? Now, this fella, he sings. The guy you're talking about?
Yeah, he's a singer. He sings Sinatra songs and this, that, and the other thing. And he gets straight gigs too, but a lot of what he's booked for is going into, as he says, retirement communities and veterans homes. And tell about how great
I wish I could do more retirement communities because those people are they're alert. They just happen to be retired. Where I go, 80% of them are just, they're not there. There's no reaction. They're sitting in their wheelchairs, and I'm talking, and I could, what's your name? So the few people that do react are the ones, obviously, that give me great satisfaction. We play trivia. I don't do stand-up. That's because I've been going to this now 6, 7, 8 years. But when I get a laugh from them, I'll read trivia questions and then add things. The king of what's the name of the czar who was killed in Russia? Alexander, Melvin, Neil Diamond. I just pick up things like that. And the few that react,
Neil Diamond, of course. They get that one right away. You got to make it more difficult, Michael.
Oh, well, you knew that one, but some of them.
Yeah.
And there are some of the people are when it comes to science questions, stuff like that, some of the people, a few are very bright. I don't know the answers. But I just try to fill the hour and a half with fun and
I'm sure they enjoy it. I'm sure they do.
I'm sure, they do. The ones, as I say, I just wished so many, I hate to say it, have passed away. Yeah. I don't think I was the cause, but...
right.
Well, you knocked them dead, maybe,
I killed.
I killed. Right, yeah.
It gives you a chance to feel the guilt of not being a grown-up a Jew, not being a doctor, and you could have saved some of these people, right? Do you have
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of this, I must call you because I'll forget if I don't mention it. There's a really cute film out now with Chevy Chase and Richard Dreyfuss, and it's on Netflix. Have you seen it?
No.
The premise is that they're both living in this retirement community, and Chevy Chase, at one time, many years earlier, had been Richard Dreyfuss's manager when Richard Dreyfuss was a young comedian coming up. And so they decide they got to leave this retirement community because it's just filled with old people. Well, of course, they are now old people. And they're going to go on the road, and Richard Dreyfuss is going to resurrect his act as a comic. And it's just a cute film. It's got some really funny lines, and especially when they're in the retirement community. It just came out. They play off well one against the other. I never realized how tall Chevy Chase is or how short Richard Dreyfuss is. Because
I think there's a combination of both.
Uh-huh.
Dreyfuss is not tall, and the other guy is.
Yeah.
Because short. Yeah.
When they have a scene together.
I read about that, and thanks for reminding. What's the name of it? Do you remember?
The Last Laugh.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. It follows in this sort of genre that we've had over the last dozen years or so of older people breaking out of whatever they were in to go do something, like the Bucket List, or there was another one that was quite well received about the same kind of thing. I know what it was. It was the movie about the two comics. They had been a team, remember? And they were trying to get them to get back together again for the special TV show. I think it was written by Neil Simon, if I'm not mistaken.
The Sunshine Boys.
The Sunshine Boys. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yes, that was a great movie. Was it George Burns? George Burns was in that. And Mathau. Yes.
Yeah.
That was the movie that
scream at each other. They couldn't stand each other's company.
Right. And I'm sure the premise for these movies there's probably got a good deal of legitimacy to them. A writer knows personally of a situation like that, or knows of someone who knows someone, and they say, "Hey, that could make a good film," and they would go from there.
And now on Netflix.
Hey guys, maybe you could help me remember when I think of Richard Dreyfuss, I think of a movie that he was in.
American Graffiti.
Yeah. No, this is a movie where he's a newlywed groom. He's got a beautiful wife and a beautiful life. And he's involved in a tragic accident where he becomes a quadriplegic.
And whose life is it anyway?
Good call.
Am I right?
That was one of the most poignant, most incredibly moving movie I ever saw. Whatever stage you're going through in life, something like that can just take it all away. And he wanted to die. Communication with his doctor. And he didn't have control over that. And I think this was written before, performed before Kevorkian. And
it was a Broadway play, if I remember correctly.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I think.
I like. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, speaking of, just because I have to leave in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Or I should leave because I'm sure my granddaughter with all the little friends are going, "Where's the old guy with the mustache?" I'm sure that's on her mind at this moment.
He's in the green room.
Yeah. Actually, her other grandfather has a much larger mustache than I do.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah, he has. But anyway,
a Jerry Colonna mustache.
Oh, it's a real big one. But that's speaking of Netflix. In older people, there's the show, The Kaminsky Method. Have you seen that?
Yes. Mm-hmm. In that genre too.
Amazon, this show, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Yeah, I haven't
heard
seen
about
that.
it.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So the last few episodes, the family goes to the Catskills. So it's so if you've ever been there, some memories come back. I mean.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
It's just funny to watch, the cabin and the women getting. Now this is in the 50s, so all the women are in the salons getting their hair done, and just gossiping, and it's almost like a long playing joke almost. But as you say, so people are making these making these shows.
Yes.
And it's about Henry Winkler in this show Barry, who plays a 73 now.
Wow.
Yeah. The Fonz is 73.
Wow.
But he's great. He's great. So.
Yes. Hey,
I once wrote a script on spec for some friends that were in the film business, which was premised about on the Catskills. These four guys who were friends, and they had worked as waiters in one of these Catskill kosher-style hotels, and they decided, like in their mid-30s, that this was a great idea to do this again. And so the idea was that they go back to the Catskills as waiters again. Now they're not 18, 19 years old anymore. They're in their 30s. And I wrote a spec script for it, but it never went anywhere.
But that's a great idea.
Yeah, it was, I thought. Yep.
Yeah.
Now these same guys are in their 70s, I think there's maybe one hotel left up there.
Yeah, it would be. I know. That's
Well, my friends from DeKalb Avenue in the Bronx, we had a reunion in I think it was 1982. I believe it was, yes. 1982. There was about 8 or 9 of us. We went up, and the only hotel that was open at the time was the Falls View in Ellenville, New York, which was one of the mid-tier hotels,
right.
Below Grossingers and Kutchers and the Concord. And so we went up there, and it was funny because there were people there. We went up for the weekend, and suddenly there's 8 or 9 guys in their late 30s, I guess, 30s and 80s, were all there at the same time, and it was like writing a joke book. It was just like, a woman came over, she said, "Tell me, who are you? What are you guys?" They're probably all looking for their granddaughters for marriage, And so one of my friends said, "Well, we're a bunch of gay attorneys. We're having a meeting up here." And then we would go out on the field and we'd play basketball, 3-on-3, and then we went to play a little softball, and we didn't let anybody play who wasn't in the group, which annoyed a lot of people that were there because they wanted to play with us. And we said, no.
That's funny.
But we really did it, and the food was not, the portions were not as large as we remember them or as they were, and all the waiters were Latinos, as opposed to nice Jewish boys from Brooklyn or the Bronx.
Yeah.
Or Queens,
yes.
On that note, I really should go.
Okay. All right.
We'll close it out. It was short but sweet with you guys this morning.
Yes, it was fun.
Okay.
All right. We'll speak to you next week.
Stay healthy, and we'll do it again next week,
Yep.
same time, same bat station.
Right.
All right.
Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Sei gesund. Thank you for listening, everybody. It's more fun for us than for you, I'm sure.
Yeah. Say hello to Amy for me. Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. Be good. Thank you, everybody. The proceeding was a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production. Thank you for listening.